I'm Bob Coleman, and we're talking Main Street and the small business lenders who help it grow. Thank you to this week's sponsor, Business Finance Capital.
At BFC, we specialize in the SBA 504 program. This program allows small businesses to gain 90% financing when they're purchasing real estate. The SBA rate is fixed and amortized over 20 years, which is great for business owners because they don't know where interest rates are going to be going over the next 2, 3, 10 years. So it's really a rewarding feeling to be able to help people who are working in their garage or renting at a really high rate to be able to own their building, gain some equity, and have something to show for their company.
Our first story comes from a House subcommittee hearing on the Small Business Committee, and interesting stats about getting capital to rural America.
Access to capital continues to remain a top concern for American small businesses, nowhere more than rural America, which has been slower to recover from the recession of '08, et cetera. Although venture capital has become a popular financing mechanism for small businesses trying to expand, data shows that more than 75% of venture capital goes to just 3 cities in the United States. This means that there are great small businesses ideas that are frequently overlooked in my district in Virginia, Mr. Evans in Pennsylvania, and across the country. This issue is compounded by the fact that the decline in community banks has adversely impacted rural areas as well. According to community bank data from the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, there are 625 rural counties in the United States without a community bank based in their county. While this committee and my subcommittee have performed rigorous oversight to ensure that SBA's funding programs can be a resource for small businesses that cannot obtain credit elsewhere, today's hearing focuses on private sector solutions to address small business capital access. I want to thank Chairman Blum for co-chairing, thank you, Rod, this hearing to examine this important issue. Today's witnesses are working to bring together small businesses and entrepreneurs in rural America with private investors. While there is a learning curve for both, these organizations are working with trade associations, land-grant universities, local economic development organizations, and others to help bring those with capital together with those who need it to impact local economies and businesses. When these partnerships work, both the small businesses and the investors can benefit. It's a true win-win.
In last week's office hours, Lance Sexton and I answered a question which had, frankly, I never heard before. Listen to this exchange about why you want to have a clear understanding of what exactly is in that accounts receivable balance sheet line.
This is a great question. I've never seen this question before, Lance. Tobias asked, have you ever heard of a company not wanting to list the names of their customers on their AR aging? And do you think that's even eligible for SBA financing?
Well, my big concern about not listing the names is how can you assess the value of accounts receivable? I mean, there could be, all the accounts receivable could be to parties that have limited ability to repay.
Or intercompany transactions.
I think it's, and as Bob's response, it's a significant red flag on those accounts receivable. And the only way I would even consider, I wouldn't accept it in underwriting.
And I'm not saying it's fraud. I'm saying it's a fraud red flag. And when you get a fraud red flag, what do? You say stop, assess, what is the situation? Does it make sense? But I agree with Lance. I would go back and say, no, we need to see what the AR is, because you may have 50% of it from an entity that doesn't exist or an entity, like Lance said, that can't repay.
The alternative, Bob, is a zero value.
News of the week. SBA has a new form, the Personal Financial Statement Form 413. Lance and I discussed.
What's the answer, Lance?
Well, with the release of the new SBA Form 413, it has a certification from the spouse of any 20% owner of the business, that the assets, not just of the individual that's part of the deal, but the assets of the spouse will be looked at as potential collateral on the SBA loan.
Lance, is there a situation where we would not require the spouse's assets and we just say, no, we don't need that person's signature?
Well, the deal is SBA's collateral rule is all available collateral if it's not fully secured. If you've got an SBA loan that's fully secured, you will not have to look at other assets as collateral. I had a fun conversation with my boss the other day, Bob, because in most cases you have an SBA loan where you have a small business borrower and there's plenty of cash flow and no collateral. We actually had one we were looking at, plenty of collateral and not enough cash flow. And we're like, that's odd.
Yeah, and that's ineligible by definition. It has to cash flow. You cannot do a 100% collateralized loan and say, yeah, we're good.
Continuing our videos of America West, David Bales of American Lending Center talked about what his company does. David Bales, American Lending Center, project administrator. So I have a bunch of questions. First of all, what does American Lending Center do?
We are a EB5 company that is lending. We are a we're a leader in the ground up construction company industry.
So what's EB5?
Employment-based visa program.
Okay.
So we bring foreign investments into the U.S. economy that helps grow the economy, and for people here in the United States looking to have their own business.
So these are people, I know you do a lot in the China market.
Yes, correct.
So you have Chinese coming here and investing in small business on
correct.
Main Street. Give me a typical project. How does a typical transaction look?
Typical transaction would be, so we get a project, let's say here in California, maybe $20 million. We bring in a portion of that for the capital stack on that, and then we will have we'll partner with another lender, and we will work with the SBA.
Typical industry, hospitality?
Typical industry, hospitality. We also focus on assisted living facilities.
Okay.
We do various things. We've done some car washes and stuff like that as well. So, but mostly hospitality.
And I cut you off. You said you work with SBA lenders. How does that fit into the transaction?
So we work with the SBA on the 504 program as well as the 7A. So what we do is we will have a interim lender come in and help with that capital stack.
Great. David, thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Finally, last week, SBA celebrated its 60th birthday. President Eisenhower started it. Little known fact, one of the reasons why he was so in tune to small business lending, he came from Abilene, Kansas. He came from a rural Main Street. When he was in the Army in World War II, he was very concerned that small business was getting its share of Army contracts. Here's a 30-second clip about SBA powering America.
With the U.S. Small Business Administration, we make small business our business by being an ally, an advocate, a mentor, a coach, an educator, a friend. So businesses across the nation can confidently start, grow, expand, and recover. SBA, empowering small businesses, empowering the American dream.
If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to click like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you for joining us today for the Coleman Report Update and for supporting America's Main Street, one entrepreneur at a time.